A few weeks ago, somebody that I knew died in a car crash, and we weren't super close. I only met him like 2 times, but from all the interactions I had with him, he was a good guy, and from everything that I heard, he was generally quite nice. The thing is, I found out about his death while I was scrolling on Facebook, trying to solve this problem that I had. I needed to figure out some information about this powerlifting meet that I'm going to have, and I just couldn't find this information. I was getting pissed off. I was getting annoyed, like trying to find this information, just couldn't find it anywhere, scrolling, wasting my time, thinking like, fuck's sake, I gotta go on Facebook, I gotta log into Facebook to do all this shit. But when I saw this post that this guy had died, for about 90 seconds, I cared really deeply. I messaged my friend asking him if it's true, like what happened. I started like, feeling bad for him. But after the 90 seconds, I went back to solving my problem. I went back to being pissed off, to only caring about myself, to being selfish, to taking my problem for granted, and thinking like, oh, this is so fucking annoying. Like, poor me, I've got to look for this powerlifting meet, or whatever. A little while later, I started journaling just to end the day off, and I started writing about this problem, right? And I realized like he was 24 when he died. Like both of his parents were still alive. He had a girlfriend and everything, and he had a bunch of friends. I started to put myself in his father's shoes. So obviously, like I want to be a father when I'm older as well. So, like, try and imagine having to bury your own son. Try and imagine having the problem of your wife fucking wailing 24 hours a day because she just lost her only son. Of his girlfriend coming over to your house also fucking wailing. Of you being distraught because you just lost your only son. And it just made me realize, like, I'm so fucking selfish for thinking about like this powerlifting meet while this was going on. And that's not to say that like I'm a bad person or that my problems don't matter as much, but it just made me realize like all that anxiety, all that like anxiousness or the annoyance that I had of having to scroll on Facebook, like it really wasn't something. I shouldn't have felt that bad for such a small problem when there's that kind of shit going on. I took my problem for granted when there's shit like that going on. I quickly realized that like I'm very grateful to have this problem. I'm very grateful that I don't have to go through that shit. I'm very grateful that I get to sit here and talk to my phone or get to write on my laptop or get to fucking go to a powerlifting meet or get to train at the gym every day and do all these things. Because I know one day maybe that will be me who's having to bury their own fucking son or daughter or whatever the fuck. And when that day comes, I want to know that up until that day, I was grateful and I lived my life properly. I don't want to be the type of person who comes to this problem and thinks to themselves like, wow, another problem that that I now have to face. Like when that big event happens, I want to take that and understand that like that's the big thing that happened. I don't want to live my life being annoyed by all these little things, by all these little problems that don't really fucking mean anything. I don't want to take my problems for granted when I know there's going to be a massive fucking disaster coming soon. Because whether that's your mother dying or your dad dying or your fucking dog dying, there's always going to be that one action thing that's actually going to be bad compared to fucking having to scroll Facebook for 30 minutes. The thing is, our mind is kind of like a computer's RAM. Like a computer's RAM is, when you first turn it on, there's basically fuck all in there, right? So when you wake up, there's nothing in your head. But as the day goes on, you start to insert ideas, whether that's work, whether that's like travel or wearing clothes or brushing your teeth. Like you get more tasks and more shit that piles up in your head, right? And gratefulness isn't really one of those things. You never really think about being grateful. It's not really useful for most of the day. And so what do you do about that? Like how do you remind yourself to stay grateful, stay humble, stay diligent of the fact that there's going to be bigger problems and not put so much effort, not put so much attention onto these little things that, like these little annoyances. How do you stay sane and live your life properly if gratefulness is such a difficult thing to maintain? And as I was thinking about it, I realized that keeping your mind clear of bullshit, especially staying clear of distractions, of like little dopamine things, keeping your RAM as clear as possible, making sure that you're not taking up space in your brain with bullshit, whether that's journaling or just talking to somebody, getting shit out of your brain or not letting it go into your brain. I think that helps a lot, especially having genuinely honest conversations with your friends or your family, having deep conversations with them as well, not just like surface level shit, but trying to go deeper to get rid of those things that like stay stuck in your brain. That's going to help you just build up space where you can manually remind yourself to stay grateful, and then gratefulness stays in your head for longer. And I think going forward, that's one thing that I'm going to try to do more, is just be more grateful, not take my problems for granted, and realize that like I don't have to bury my fucking firstborn son, so I really have nothing to cry about. And hopefully, like, you can take that same lesson away and realize, like, whatever the fuck is going on with your life, at least you don't have to bury your firstborn son. And I don't think that's really something to be sad about either. I think that's something to be happy about. I don't know why, but for some reason I feel like that's also something to be grateful for, to understand that, like, for now, your life is good. For now, things are okay. And there's some comfort in that as well.